passenger window. Fuller tells DeCaro, "You can't look in my car." So Fuller also identifies the car as his. Fuller says that you can't look in my car with authority such that Officer Prugel has to tell him chill. Lieutenant DeCaro proceeds, though, to look through the passenger side window with his flashlight, and first he sees a shell casing on the passenger. So this is now the third that's found related to the car. Second, Officer DeCaro on the floorboard of the passenger side of the car. And almost at the same time, Officer Prugel, using her flashlight from the driver's side of the car, passenger seat, and also sees the gun. Now Lieutenant DeCaro opened the passenger door and retrieved the pistol. To be a Smith & Wesson M&P pistol we introduced as an exhibit, Wesson .40 caliber pistol. Immediately detained. Officer McLeod's patrol. As Fuller is telling the officers that he isn't saying that he didn't know. Officer Hefner reads Fuller his Miranda rights, and Fuller talks to Officer Hefner. In summary, he tells Officer Hefner the gunshots were fired by his cousin, Keith Dykes, who claimed that Fuller owed him money for that 2013 Chevy Malibu that he bought from Dykes' girlfriend, Soraya Smith, and Fuller hadn't paid him in full. Fuller states that the .40 caliber pistol is Dykes' gun, not his, but again, he never says he didn't know the gun was in the car. After that .40 caliber pistol is found, the four officers continue to look for other evidence of gunshots. A state trooper, Bass, also arrives at West Eagle. He proceeds to find two other shell casings under the back of Fuller's car. Lieutenant DeCaro notices a gun mark on the rim of the passenger tire. Lieutenant DeCaro, Officer Prugel start to process the location of the shell casings that were found near the passenger side of his car, Fuller's car. Officers McLeod and Hefner proceed to take Fuller back to the Painesville Police Department for further questioning. At the Painesville Police Station, McLeod and Fuller McLeod and Hefner read Fuller his rights again, but and Fuller agrees to talk and summarizes again what happened earlier and with his cousin Dykes, and tells the officers he couldn't leave West Eagle because Dykes had taken his keys. As Officer Hefner and McLeod are taking Fuller to the police station, an Officer Chad Bolosky from Painesville also arrives at West Eagle, and he will testify. He arrives there after having handled an earlier dispute of domestic violence. It's now after midnight. Officer Bolosky will testify that he proceeds to open the Malibu passenger car door, and he finds a bag on the passenger floorboard, right where a passenger would have his feet. Officer Prugel is standing outside the passenger door with Officer Bolosky. He opens the bag and opens it without any effort, and inside then is a Smith & Wesson 681 .357 revolver with a black handle, and it's loaded with 5 rounds. The Smith & Wesson .357 revolver will also be introduced as an exhibit at the trial, along with a photo of the Smith & Wesson 681 .357 revolver. Officer Bolosky also finds another spent shell casing underneath the bag. All the spent shell casings are found to be 9mm shell casings, not from .40 caliber gun or from 681 .357 Magnum. The crime scene is ultimately cleared after midnight, and as Fuller's car is towed, officers notice that his passenger rear tire is leaking air from a bullet shot. Mr. Fuller's been indicted on 2 counts, one for each of those firearms, of having a weapon under disability, 2923, 13A2. In pertinent part, it states no person shall knowingly have any firearm. If any of the following apply, the person has been convicted of any felony offense of violence. Knowingly. We can't get into Mr. Fuller's mind, and Mr. Fuller hasn't made a statement other than what I've outlined of knowing that both guns are in the car. But knowingly is to be determined from all the facts and circumstances of the case. Knowingly is determined when there's a high probability that Mr. Fuller knew he had 2 guns on the passenger floorboard of his car that night. And I believe there is a high probability from all the facts and circumstances that will be set out in the testimony today that Mr. Fuller knew both guns were in his car. Have is equivalent to possession. The person has possession when the object, here the 2 guns, are on or about his property. Here the property being Mr. Fuller's car, where it's accessible to his use, right on the passenger side floorboard, not locked away in the trunk of his cousin Dyke's car, for example, or back at home at his girlfriend's house. Ownership isn't necessary for possession. A person may possess or control a weapon that belongs to somebody else. The guns must be operable. As the court knows, defense counsel and I have stipulated that each firearm was operable. Each firearm was tested at the crime lab. Both were testified operable. Defendant must have been convicted of an offense of violence. Defense counsel and I, Mr. Fuller, have all stipulated his prior conviction for aggravated robbery back in April 2024 out of this court, and that's an offense of violence. The state's confident that after the court hears all the state's evidence against defendant Fuller, the state will prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Fuller is guilty of each of the 2 counts of having a weapon while under disability on or about July 1st, 2022.
Ms. Hibbard?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, what the evidence in this case is going to show is that Mr. Fuller, the defendant, was the victim of a robbery on that evening. What this case won't show and what the evidence can't prove is that Mr. Fuller knew that there were 2 firearms within that vehicle. It was dark outside. He was in the car with his cousin, who he thought he could trust. His cousin had firearms in a bag and ultimately got into a dispute with Mr. Fuller over the vehicle, demanding money from Mr. Fuller. The difference between these 2 individuals in this case, Mr. Dykes and Mr. Fuller, is that Mr. Dykes essentially robbed Mr. Fuller. It was Mr. Dykes who attempted to take the vehicle from Mr. Fuller, refused to give him back his keys, his property. And with regard to the state's comment that it was on or about Mr. Fuller's property and that somehow that's enough, Mr. Fuller has to know that those firearms were present in that vehicle. He has to acquire them, have control over them, something of that nature in order to prove that he had weapons while under disability. And if you look at the evidence in this case as it's presented by the state, there will be an absence of any evidence supporting that Mr. Fuller knew that there were firearms in that vehicle. What the evidence will show is that Mr. Fuller was the victim of a robbery, that the firearm was used against him. His back tire was shot out. There were divots in the driveway from where the firearm was fired at Mr. Fuller. And you'll also hear that Mr. Fuller cooperated with law enforcement that evening. He gave a lengthy statement about what happened. He didn't run like Mr. Dykes did. He cooperated. He said, listen, this is what happened. He told them everything they wanted to know. They took a gunshot residue test from Mr. Fuller. That didn't come back with anything. They took DNA from the firearms. That didn't come back with Mr. Fuller's DNA. And so I would ask you to keep an open mind during this bench trial and listen for any evidence that Mr. Fuller knew that there were firearms in his vehicle. Certainly, he wasn't in possession of them when law enforcement arrived. They were in the passenger side of the vehicle. But we would just ask you to keep an open mind and listen for evidence that he knew there were firearms in.
Thank you. First witness?
State would call Lieutenant DeCaro.
Raise your right hand, please. You swear testimony about gives the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
All right, have a seat.
Excuse me. Would you state your name, please?
Michael DeCaro with the Painesville City Police Department.
As of this past summer, 2025, specifically late in June 30th, 2025, early July 1st, 2025, were you employed by the Painesville Police Department at that time?
Yes, I was.
And what was your title?
Lieutenant.
Late that night, June 30th, and going into the morning of July 1st, did you respond to a dispatch of gunshots being fired around 351 West Eagle?
Yes, I did.
When you arrived at 351 West Eagle, were other Painesville police officers present?
Yes.
And what officers were there?
McLeod, Prugel, and Hefner.
Was there a young man standing in the driveway of 351 West Eagle?
Yes.
Who was the young man standing in the driveway of 351 West Eagle?
Mr. Fuller.
And was Mr. Fuller standing next to an automobile?
Yes.
What type of automobile was he standing next to?
Chevy Malibu.
When you arrived, you know from radio communication that Chevy Malibu in the driveway of 351 West Eagle has been identified as Mr. Fuller's car?
Objection.
Basis.
Leading.
All right, I'll sustain that.
How do you know when you arrived that the Chevy Malibu
Objection.
is Mr.
Let
Fuller's
him
car?
finish the question first. Overruled. Go ahead.
As I walked up to the car, Mr. Fuller was standing right outside the front passenger door. The front passenger window was down. I began looking through the car with my flashlight, and he said, "You can't look in my car."
So he told you at that point in time, you can't look in my car.
Correct.
Carl, I'm going to hand you what are marked as State's Exhibit 1. Ask you to identify State's Exhibit 1. State's Exhibit 1 is a certified copy of the title of that 2013 Chevy Malibu, correct?
That's correct.
And it identifies Mr. Rizal Fuller as the owner of the 2013 Chevy Malibu.
Correct.
As June 30th, 2026.
Yes.
Is Mr. Fuller in the courtroom today?
Yes, he is.
Would you identify him, please?
The male seat at the fence table.
When you arrive, do you begin to assist the other officers looking for evidence that guns have been fired?
Yes.
And of course, it's midnight. Were all the officers using a flashlight to look around the area for evidence that the guns have been fired?
Yes.
And were you using a flashlight?
Yes, I was.
As you start to look around the Chevy Malibu, do you find evidence that a gun or guns have been fired?
Yes, I did.
What do you find first?
First, I found the firearm in the vehicle. And
How about outside of the passenger?
outside, yes, there were 2 spent 9mm shell casings.
Okay, and you were the one that located them?
Yes.
At the time that you locate those shell casings, About how far from the passenger door of Mr. Fuller's car were those shell casings?
I'd say within 3 to 5 feet.
Now, you testified that the passenger side window of the Chevy Malibu car was rolled down.
Correct.
Could you plainly see into the inside of the car with your flashlight through the rolled down passenger window?
Yes.
And you testified that you flashed your flashlight into the car passenger window. Where was Mr. Fuller standing as you flashed your flashlight?
I was standing right next to the front passenger door.
And again, what does Mr. Fuller say to you as you flash the flashlight into the passenger side window of the car?
That I can't look in his car.
And when you flash the flashlight, what do you see on the passenger seat?
I saw a spent shell casing.
And as you look further through the passenger side window with your flashlight, what do you see next?
Black semi-auto pistol with an extended magazine.
Was there any papers or I don't know, fast food trash bags, anything blocking the view of the pistol that you see?
No.
And where was the gun located in the car?
Front passenger floorboard.
Do you proceed then to open the passenger side door of the Chevy Malibu and pick up the gun?
I believe I opened the door to confirm that it was a real gun, and then we detained Mr. Fuller.
Carl, I'm going to hand you what I marked as State's Exhibit 2. Would you identify State's Exhibit 2?
Sure, it's a black Smith & Wesson M&P 40 caliber pistol, and there's also an extended magazine with it.
After you take possession of Exhibit 2, well, you do take possession of the Exhibit 2, is that right?
Yes.
And after the scene is cleared, where do you take Exhibit 2 after you've taken possession of it?
Back to the police station.
After you brought Exhibit 2 to the police station, do you take Exhibit 2 to the Lake County Crime Lab?
Yes.
And you're taking it there for testing of whether it was operable or not?
Correct.
After Lake County Crime Lab was done with its testing, did Crime Lab return Exhibit 2 to you at the police station?
Yes.
A few months ago, before the trial today, did you take Exhibit 2 over to Lake County Prosecutor's office to be checked into their evidence room
Yes.
and for gun locks to be put on?
Yes, I did.
Today, this morning, I've brought Exhibit 2 from the prosecutor's office
Objection.
for court today,
Overruled.
correct?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 3. Senator Carl, I'm going to hand you what I marked as the State's Exhibit 3. I'm going to ask you to identify State's Exhibit 3.
It's a picture that represents State's Exhibit 2. It's the same M&P 40 caliber pistol.
It fairly accurately depicts State's Exhibit 2?
Yes.
You said that when you took possession of Exhibit 2, the officers detained Mr. Fuller. What was Mr. Fuller saying, if anything, as he was being taken into custody? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Does a state trooper, last name of Bass, also come to 351 West Eagle?
Yes, he did.
Does State Trooper Bass find additional shell casings?
No, what he found were two spent projectiles, the bullet jackets that were found under the vehicle.
Oh, okay. How many did he find?
Two.
Do you proceed then to begin to process the crime scene?
Yes.
And could you just briefly summarize for us what you are doing in processing the crime scene?
Sure, I had another officer on scene take photographs. I collected, after the weapons were made safe, collected the weapons, assisted in measuring the location of the casings, the projectiles in the driveway, and they were also collected as evidence.
In processing the crime scene, did you notice any gunshot damage on the side of Mr. Fuller's car?
Yes.
What did you see?
Looked like either ricochet damage or, a grazing damage to the passenger rear tire, to the rim.
While you're processing the crime scene, does an officer, Chad Boloski from Painesville Police, also arrive at 351 West Eagle?
Yes, he did.
And you're still processing the crime scene when
Yes.
he arrives? To your knowledge, does Officer Boloski also enter Mr. Fuller's car?
Yes, he did.
And when he does so, does Officer Boloski also find a second firearm in Mr. Fuller's car?
Yes.
What type of gun was the second gun that Officer Boloski finds in Mr. Fuller's car?
That was a Smith & Wesson revolver, caliber .357.
Lieutenant Garman, any remark is the State's Exhibit 4. As we identify State's Exhibit 4.
Yes, this is the revolver that was found in the vehicle.
What is that? What is that firearm?
It's a Smith & Wesson model 681. It's a .357 caliber.
After Officer Boloski locates that gun, do you receive possession of Exhibit 4 from Officer Boloski?
Yes.
And Exhibit 4, do you take Exhibit 4 back to the Painesville Police Station after crime scene is cleared?
Yes.
And Exhibit 4, do you also transport Exhibit 4 for testing to the crime lab?
Yes.
Properly? And did you take Exhibit 4 with Exhibit 2 to the Lake County Prosecutor's Office a couple months ago to have the gun locks put on?
Yes.
Held in their evidence room?
Yes, I
And
did.
again, I had brought Exhibit 4 here from there today. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
Any remarks? State's Exhibit 5. Ask you to identify State's Exhibit 5.
It's a photograph of State's Exhibit 4, the Smith & Wesson .357 revolver.
Does the photograph fairly and accurately show Exhibit 4, the .357 Magnum
Yes.
revolver? Was Exhibit 4, to your knowledge, loaded when Officer Pulaski finds Exhibit 4?
Yes.
Do you recall how many rounds Exhibit 4 was loaded with?
5.
Was another shell casing found in Mr. Fuller's car after Exhibit 4 was found, to your knowledge, to your recollection?
Not to my recollection. Oh, yes. I'm sorry, yes. There was a live round found on the floorboard, front passenger floorboard.
Now, when Exhibit 4 is located by Officer Pulaski, has Mr. Fuller already been transferred back to the Painesville Police Station at that time? Do you remember?
I don't know if he had been transported yet or not. He may have been still on scene, detained in the back of a patrol car. That morning, or early morning, July 1st, do you know at that time that Mr. Fuller has a prior conviction for aggravated robbery? I learned that night.
Now, after your processing, done processing the crime scene, is it after midnight on July 1st?
Yes.
To your knowledge, were any of the shell casings that were found 9mm shell casings?
Yes, they were.
Were any of the shell casings from the State's Exhibit 2, 40 caliber
No.
pistol, or any of the shell casings from the second gun, the .357 Magnum?
No.
Was Mr. Fuller's car towed away from the crime scene?
Yes.
And were you present as it was being towed away?
Yes.
Did you notice that the back passenger rear tire was leaking air?
Yes, it was deflating.
Did it appear there was leaking air from a gun shot?
I can't say for sure, but I would assume that's what it was.
Excuse me a second. No further questions for Lieutenant Carl?
Cross.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Lieutenant.
Morning.
You were the officer who would have been in the supervisory role in this incident, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And your primary objective here was gathering evidence, is that right?
Yes, my role in this case, I gathered most of the evidence, yes.
Collecting the
Yes.
physical evidence. And you also ultimately were part of the interview with Mr. Fuller, correct?
I was not.
You were not?
No.
Okay, so your role was limited to responding to the scene with the other officers, or they were there when you got there, and then gathering the physical evidence and getting it to the crime lab.
Correct.
Okay. And when you do that, the crime lab follows up with you. Is that accurate?
Yes, they sent us the lab results.
Okay. And did they give you a report pertaining to these shell casings?
Yes,
Okay, and did you turn that over to the prosecutor's office?
they should be. I mean, they're with their report.
Did you turn that over to Mr. Dugan?
I believe so.
You did?
I mean, I wouldn't have directly, not per se. That should be with the case, and the court, or our clerks send the reports over.
Okay, and they would have sent over that trace evidence report?
Yes,
Okay, pertaining to the ballistics in this case?
correct.
Okay, would it surprise you that the defense does not have that?
Yes,
Okay. And ultimately, though, the lab determined that the shell casings did not match either of the firearms in Mr. Fuller's vehicle. Is that correct?
Objection.
Overruled.
could you repeat the question?
The lab determined that the casings did not match the firearm in Mr. Fuller's vehicle.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And were those shells found in Mr. Dykes' vehicle?
Objection as to, that's hearsay, and it's something that was done at crime lab, not by Lieutenant DeCoro.
Overruled if he knows. Go ahead.
Are
Good
you-
answer.
Are you asking me if we recovered a gun from Mr. Dykes' car? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
We never recovered a firearm from Mr. Dykes' car.
Or, okay, how about from Mr. Dykes?
No,
Okay. There were live rounds in Mr. Dykes' car, is that right?
I know we recovered a shell casing from Mr. Dykes' car. A spent shell casing,
From Mr. Dykes' car.
correct.
And what car was Mr. Dykes' car?
I don't, it was a different case, so I'm not 100% sure what kind. It was some kind of SUV.
Okay. Parts of that answer I want to address first, that it was a different case, okay? Tell me about how that was a different case than the one that we're here for right now.
What you're referencing is Mr. Dykes was located in the vehicle you're talking about a day or two later when he was located and arrested.
Okay, and he had fled the scene of this particular incident, right?
He was gone before we arrived, yes.
Okay, and you ultimately went to a different address to locate him, right?
Well, he was in a vehicle. It was a traffic stop
Okay,
a day or two later.
a day or two later.
Yeah,
Okay, but when you found Mr. Dykes, there were live rounds in that vehicle, right?
Objection as to
Hold on. What's the relevance of this?
The relevance is whether those live rounds were what gun those would have gone with.
How does that go to the issue in this trial?
The issue in this trial is Mr. Dykes was in the vehicle with the firearms.
Right. So what does it matter what happened a day or two and what was in Dykes' car, what was not in Dykes' car?
What was in Dykes' car, if he had bullets that matched these firearms, it
Okay,
makes it
so-
more likely that these firearms belong to Mr. Dykes.
Well, is ownership the only issue in this trial?
No.
Okay. Well, I'll let you go a little bit, but not much more.
Okay. Did you have the opportunity to determine what type of firearm those live rounds in Mr. Dykes' vehicle would have been used with?
I don't know. I'm not familiar.
Overruled. Go ahead.
I'm not familiar with any live rounds that were found in that car. To my recollection, I know there was a spent shell casing found in that car, which was a 9mm. That was sent to the crime lab and compared to this case we're here on, and that shell casing was found to be fired from the same gun as the two shell casings we found in the driveway on West Eagle Street.
Oh. Okay. So that is in fact how these cases are related, right?
Suspect and weapon are related, I would say, yes.
Yes. And this case was investigated as a robbery, right?
Correct.
And Mr. Fuller was the victim of that robbery. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And you, I would imagine, have had the opportunity to investigate the suspect of that robbery, right?
Investigate how?
Look into him as an individual, Mr. Dykes, that is?
I did not.
You did not?
No.
And who would have been responsible for that?
Officer McLeod handled most of that one.
Okay. And so would it have been McLeod who located the rounds in Dykes' car?
Correct.
Okay. Now, when you were at this scene, it was your job to collect physical evidence. Did you attempt to obtain any video footage?
No.
That didn't seem pertinent to you?
No, we took photographs. I mean, we don't have means of video footage other than our patrol cars video.
Okay, but it's safe to say that the photographs that you took didn't capture the individuals who were on scene's actions leading up to your arrival, right?
No, not that I know of.
Okay.
I mean, could you repeat the question?
Okay, so I asked you about video. You said, no, we didn't look for any video. We had photos, right? That's what you said.
I'm sorry, I was video footage,
Okay, no, but you did have your body cam.
yes, but the patrol car cameras were on.
You had your cameras and that video footage, but that was your arrival on scene, right?
Well, the officers that arrived before me would have had their cameras on.
Okay, they had any video footage of the shot. That's correct.
I talked to one neighbor. I probably would have asked if they heard or saw anything, but there was no video footage located.
Right around there to see if they had ring camera.
I talked to one neighbor. I don't know what the other officers, if they located any video evidence, but I don't think they did.
Okay, and you didn't attempt to. That's my question. Did you attempt to locate any video evidence of this incident?
Other than the house I went to, no.
Okay. This was a small area with a number of houses that, had they had cameras, could have captured this incident, right?
Possibly.
Could have captured the other people coming, going out of the driveway, right?
Possibly.
Objection as to what anybody else would have done.
Overruled.
And could have potentially captured people getting in and out of that vehicle, right?
Possibly.
Okay. And one of these firearms was found in a bag in the vehicle?
Correct.
Is that right? Okay. So it was not, you could not just look at that bag and determine that there was a firearm in it, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then the other firearm was black and it was on the floorboard of the car,
Correct.
passenger side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it was dark out, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you had to use a flashlight to see inside the vehicle, right?
Right.
Okay. And the passenger window was down when you arrived at this vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And you don't have any evidence as to how that firearm was placed onto the floorboard, do you?
No.
Any direct evidence? Okay. So it could have been Mr. Fuller, could have been Mr. Dykes, could have been one of the other guys that were there, right?
Sure.
Okay. And again, that passenger window was down and the firearm was just on the floorboard of the car. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And the other gentlemen that were on scene, you attempted to speak with them on scene, is that right?
The other officers did. I didn't.
Okay. Do you know which officer did?
I think all three of them tried before I got there.
Okay. And Mr. Fuller didn't have a flashlight that night looking around, did he?
Not that I know of.
Okay. And who was responsible for taking photos of the Malibu that evening?
I believe it was Officer Hefner.
Okay. And you indicated that State Trooper Bass located some evidence in this matter?
Correct.
Did he write a report?
I doubt it.
And is that standard?
I mean, maybe he did. I don't know what his department policy is about assisting another agency in writing a report. I don't know.
Okay. And under the pistol that was found in the vehicle, there was an iPhone found there as well, right?
Correct.
And that iPhone belonged to Mr. Dykes?
That's what we were told.
Okay. And you had access to the iPhone that Mr. Fuller had on him, correct?
That, again, would be Officer McLeod or Hefner, but yes, we had it as the Painesville Police Department, yeah.
Okay, and let's talk more about that. Mr. Fuller then ultimately went to the police department
Correct.
and he spoke with officers there, right?
Correct.
Okay. And when the officers arrived at the scene, he was just standing there, is that right?
When I got there or when the other officers got there?
When the other officers got there, or when you got there?
He wasn't, objection, he wasn't present when the other officers.
Overruled.
Yeah, when I got there, he was just standing next to his front passenger door.
Okay, and he didn't run from you?
No.
Okay, and are you aware that he ultimately gave his passcode to police to go into his phone?
Yes.
Okay, and so presumably they could then determine that in fact it was Mr. Fuller's phone that they had?
Sure.
And do you know if that other iPhone that Mr. Fuller told you was Keith Dykes' iPhone, do you know if that iPhone was ever dumped, I guess you could say, extracted?
No.
You don't know, or it did not happen?
It did not happen.
Okay. But you could have gotten a warrant for that phone, right?
I believe we attempted to, and there was an issue with the prosecutor wanting to get one, but like I said, that's a completely separate case, and I wasn't involved with that search warrant attempt.
And when you say a completely separate case, Mr. Fuller being the victim of a robbery is in fact this same case, though?
Yes.
Okay. And you also took, or I'm sorry, strike that. Did you or any other officer take a gunshot residue sample from Mr. Fuller?
Some other officer did. I don't know who
Okay.
it was.
And did the lab follow up with you about the results of that?
I don't think it was ever tested because we were fairly confident through the course of both investigations that he was not the person that fired the gun.
Okay. But gunshot residue would also, if it was present, could also be indicative of him handling a firearm that had been fired. Is that right?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did the lab follow up with you about the DNA in this matter?
Yes.
And Mr. Fuller's DNA was not present on the firearm, correct?
Objection.
Overruled.
Can you specify which gun you're talking about?
Any of them. Any firearm.
You're asking me if Mr. Fuller's DNA was found on any of the firearms?
Yes.
So
Objection again, Your Honor. It's,
Overruled. Is it in the lab report whether DNA was taken?
Yes.
Okay, and the result was his DNA wasn't on it?
it was
That's-
inconclusive, Your Honor. Was,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, well, what are we arguing about here?
I just want it to be part of the record. That
So there was no Zell Fuller DNA identified on either the 357 or the 40, is that correct?
Is that correct?
Does counsel agree that that's the case? You guys have
I certainly
reports.
agree.
Do you?
I would say that they could not conclude.
I know that, okay, but
Yeah,
did it come back that a Zell Fuller's DNA was on either of those firearms?
There was tracings of him, his DNA,
Okay.
and his fingerprints.
Is a
No.
lab, hold on, God damn it, is a lab person, this is a simple issue, okay? Is a lab person prepared to come in here and say that a Zell Fuller's DNA was on either firearm? Yes or no?
No.
No.
Okay, then what are we doing?
Just making it part of the record that there was no finding as to Mr. Fuller's DNA
It's-
on.
It's part of the,
Any of the
it's part of the
firearms.
record by agreement of counsel, isn't it?
Well,
All right, answer the question if you know, Lieutenant.
Sure. So I contacted the crime lab because there was wording on the lab sheet that I wasn't familiar with. The way the crime lab explained it to me is that there were multiple DNAs found on the firearm.
Why am I allowing hearsay testimony?
I didn't know he was going to do that.
Okay, so.
I just thought
so
he'd say no.
Move on to another question.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you.
Any redirect?
No, thank you.
All right, you may step down. Next witness.
State would call Dallas McLeod, Officer Dallas McLeod.
I swear testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Have a seat.
Would you state your name, please?
Sergeant Dallas McLeod.
Sergeant McLeod, are you a police officer with the city of Painesville?
Yes, sir.
What year did you start working as a police officer?
I was hired August 11th of 2017.
Where had you worked? Had you worked anywhere else before you worked in the city of Painesville?
No, I was hired right out of the academy at Painesville.
I want to turn your attention to last summer, late at night, June 30th, early morning of July 1st. Were you on duty and dispatched to 351 West Eagle with gunshots were being fired?
Yes, I was.
Did two other police officers respond with you initially?
Yes.
What were their names?
Officer Jordan Hefner, who was my trainee at the time, and Officer Taylor Probable.
When you arrived at 351 West Eagle, did you see a young man by the name of Azell Fuller
Yes.
there? Did you recognize Mr. Fuller from prior encounters with him as a Painesville police
Objection.
officer?
Overruled.
Yes, sir.
Would you point out Mr. Fuller in the courtroom today, please?
He is the light-skinned African-American male wearing the dark short-sleeve shirt sitting directly to the left of the defense attorney.
Thank you. Was Mr. Fuller standing next to an automobile when you arrived?
Yes, he was.
Would you describe that automobile, please?
It was a golden color Chevy Malibu, Ohio registration KQV 2597.
And as you arrived, you know who that auto was titled to?
Upon running it through leads, it was found to be registered to Azell Fuller.
I would ask you, Officer McLeod, to take a look at Exhibit 1. Exhibit 1 is on the counter there.
Are they the photographs?
No, the title to the...
Okay. Okay.
That's a certified copy, right, of the title to that 2013 Chevy Malibu, showing that it was titled to Azell Fuller.
Yes, it is.
Did you try to speak with Mr. Fuller when you arrived?
Yes.
Do you recall asking him whether he had heard gunshots being fired?
Yes.
And what did Fuller tell you in response?
He advised us that he did not see or hear anything.
Does a fourth police officer, Lieutenant Michael DeCaro, arrive at West Eagle a little after the first three of you arrived?
Yes, he did.
And does Lieutenant DeCaro begin to assist you and the other two officers looking for evidence that a gun or guns had been fired?
Yes.
Where is Mr. Fuller standing then when Lieutenant DeCaro starts looking around? Do you remember?
He was standing near the passenger side of the vehicle.
After you arrived, did you go to any of the neighbors' homes to talk to them as to whether or not they had heard gunshots?
Yes, we conducted a canvass of the surrounding neighboring houses.
Okay. Did anyone that you talked to tell you that they had heard gunshots?
Yes.
you and all the other officers using flashlights that night?
Yes.
Was Lieutenant DeCarlo using a flashlight?
Yes.
Does Lieutenant DeCarlo find evidence that gunshots have been fired just outside of Mr. Fuller's Chevy Malibu?
Yes, he did.
What evidence does Lieutenant DeCarlo find just initially outside the car?
Initially, there were 2 spent 9mm casings on the ground next to the driver door of the vehicle. I'm sorry, the passenger door of the vehicle.
And is that the first evidence that the officers find that there have been gunshots?
Yes.
How close were those shell casings to the passenger side door of the Chevy Malibu?
Within, I'd say, a couple feet.
Was the passenger door window of the Chevy Malibu down? Or
Yes, it was.
Partly down? Okay. Did you observe Lieutenant DeCarlo flash his flashlight into the passenger side of the Chevy Malibu car?
Yes.
What does, do you know, what does Lieutenant DeCarlo see when he initially flashes the flashlight?
He observed a spent shell casing on the front passenger seat, and then a black semi-automatic Smith & Wesson pistol on the floorboard.
Have you take a look at Exhibit 2? States Exhibit 2. States Exhibit 2, the .40 caliber pistol that Lieutenant DeCarlo sees on the passenger floorboard of Mr. Fuller's car.
Yes.
Is Mr. Fuller detained when the gun is observed by Officer DeCarlo?
Yes, it was.
As you detained, were you part of detaining Mr. Fuller at that juncture?
At the time he was detained, I was currently walking back down the roadway. I had walked down the road to look for any shell casing that may have been on the road, and I had observed them begin to detain him.
So you did observe them detain him, is that what you said?
Yes.
Was Mr. Fuller saying anything as he's being detained? Did you overhear him saying anything?
I was not close enough to overhear him initially saying anything.
Were you present at the scene when Officer Bass from State Highway Patrol arrives at the scene?
Yes.
Does Officer Bass assist with looking for evidence of gunshots having been fired?
Yes.
Do you know if Officer Bass finds any evidence that gunshots were fired?
I honestly don't recall.
Do you, going back to Mr. Fuller being detained, are you the officer that places Mr. Fuller into a police cruiser when he's detained, or is it Mr. Hefner?
Myself and Officer Hefner, yes.
Is Mr. Fuller read his Miranda rights as he is placed into the cruiser when he's detained?
Yes.
And does Mr. Fuller remain then in the cruiser as the all of you process the crime scene?
Yes.
Do you and you and Officer Hefner transport Mr. Fuller back to the police station?
Yes.
Are you present when an officer Chad Belosky arrives at 351 West Eagle.
I don't believe I was at that time.
Had you already been transporting transporting Mr. Fuller back to the police station?
I believe so.
Okay. When you are back at the police station, was Mr. Fuller read his Miranda rights again?
Yes.
And was Mr. Fuller willing to talk with you?
Yes.
Do you recall, does he tell you that his cousin Keith Dykes
Objection.
calls him to pick him up earlier that evening?
Sustained.
From that conversation with him, I mean Mr. Fuller, do you recall him telling you that he drove his car to pick up Mr. Dykes?
Yes.
And does Mr. Fuller tell you also that he drove Mr. Dykes around Painesville?
Yes.
Does Mr. Fuller tell you that he drives Mr. Dykes using any other car other than the Chevy Malibu that evening?
I'm sorry, could you ask that question again?
Does Mr. Fuller tell you that he drove Dykes around Painesville using any other car other than the 2013 Chevy Malibu?
No.
Does he tell you that he drove Dykes to 351 West Eagle?
Yes.
Do you remember what he tells you as to what happens between Mr. Fuller and Dykes at 351 West Eagle?
He had indicated that there was a verbal altercation where Mr. Dykes began telling him that it was his car or something in that effect, and then pulled out a handgun that he described as a black handgun, directed a muzzle at him. Then Mr. Dykes got out of the vehicle and fired rounds at the ground toward the right rear tire of the vehicle. He indicated that after he had fired the rounds, Mr. Dykes ran to the side door of 351 West Eagle, had handed the firearm to someone inside the residence, and then fled in a black SUV.
Do you recall, was Fuller telling that Dykes was accusing him of not paying for that car?
Yes.
Does Fuller say that Dykes fired either of the two guns that are ultimately found in his Chevy Malibu?
I'm sorry, one more time?
Do you recall, does Fuller tell you that Dykes fired either of the two guns, the .40 caliber or the gun Officer Belosky found in the car?
He just indicated to me it was a black pistol.
But that he had given the pistol to the person in the home
Objection.
at 351 West Eagle?
Sustained.
Does, was Dykes at West Eagle when you and the other two officers arrived at 351 West Eagle?
No.
Does Fuller tell you where Dykes had gone after Dykes had fired his gun?
No.
Do you recall, does Fuller tell you what happened to his keys to the 2013 Malibu?
When the rounds were fired, Mr. Fuller indicated he had gotten out of the vehicle, where Mr. Dykes re-entered the vehicle, took the keys from the ignition.
So Mr. Fuller did not have keys to the Chevy Malibu when you arrived at the scene?
Correct.
All right. One moment now.
Yes, just briefly, Officer McLeod. When you took Mr. Fuller into custody, he was cooperative with you, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and he answered all the questions you had, right?
Yes.
And he gave you the passcode to his iPhone
Yes.
and essentially consented to you searching that phone?
Yes.
And then he also showed you his call log in that phone, right?
Correct.
And that call log displayed the entirety of the night's calls between Mr. Fuller and Mr. Dykes.
Yes.
And they were together for less than an hour, as evidenced by the call log, right?
Yes.
And Mr. Fuller described to you the exact routes that they had taken when they were in the car together and all of that. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. And you were able to corroborate that, correct?
As to...
Well, as to, you were able to track that and confirm that in fact those were the activities they had done together, which
Yeah.
were limited in nature, right?
Yes.
Okay. Essentially, he had given him to a ride to an apartment.
Correct.
Okay. And Mr. Fuller never said anything to you like, oh yeah, I knew those guns were in the car, did he?
Not that I can recall, no.
Okay. And Mr. Fuller gave you his DNA, right?
Yes.
And with regard to the vehicle, you saw State's Exhibit 1 up there?
The title,
I
yes.
think you were asked to look at that on direct. Yes, the title. Okay. And the individual that sold the car to Mr. Fuller, are you familiar with that individual?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And it's not Mr. Dykes' name on that paper, right?
Correct.
Okay. No further questions, thank you.
Redirect based on that.
Just a couple of questions. Officer McLeod, Mr. Fuller, talking with you, tells you when Mr. Dykes called him, he first picks him up at an apartment on Menor Avenue near Jefferson. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And he waits for Mr. Dykes for a while. When Mr. Dykes comes back, he transports him to another apartment. I think it's called the Brentwood Apartments off Chestnut, or what were they?
Yes, Brentwood Apartments.
Brentwood
Correct.
Apartments. So he transports him there, and he waits for Mr. Dykes there, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And after he's there waiting, he transports Mr. Dykes over to his father's house. Is that your recollection?
Yes.
On Payne Avenue.
Correct.
All right. Then he transports.
Objection.
him-
Sustained.
Does Mr. Fuller take Mr. Dykes? Does he transport him to Mr. Smith's home on Stage Avenue?
Yes.
Do you recall, do they stop at Mr. Smith's home on Stage Avenue?
If I recall correctly, he indicated to me that the vehicle Mr. Smith was allegedly driving was not there, and then gave him the address on West Eagle to take him to.
Okay. And so from Stage Avenue, does he, Mr. Fuller, drive then Dykes over to West Eagle?
Yes.
And finally, in all this conversation, there's never a time, is there, or is there ever a time where Mr. Fuller, 40 caliber gun was in the car?
No.
Recross.
It's safe to say that essentially Mr. Fuller was just following Mr. Dykes' commands that evening of where to go, different apartments to go to?
Yes.
Okay. And the first apartment that they go to, they're there for about 10 minutes and Keith Dykes cannot get an answer at the door, is that right?
Correct.
So then they go to a different residence, is that right?
Yes.
And then Keith Dykes says, okay, fine, take me to Cedric Smith, right?
Yes.
Okay. And ultimately, you arrested Keith Dykes.
Yes.
Okay. And so Keith Dykes is demanding Mr. Fuller to take him to all of these places that evening. And when you arrest Keith Dykes, you ultimately learn he has a drug problem, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So sounds like it makes sense that what was actually going on is Mr. Dykes is asking Mr. Fuller for rides to various places to try to obtain drugs. Does that fit the bill here?
I'm
Overruled.
not really sure on that. I can't really attest as to why he was wanting him to take him different places.
Okay. And then when you interview Mr. Fuller, do you ask him about the firearms that were found in the vehicle?
I honestly don't remember.
Okay. And if that's not documented in your report, you didn't ask him even about those firearms, did you?
It would be on the recording that was taken from the interview room.
Okay, but it's safe to say it's nowhere in your report that you asked him even about those firearms in the vehicle.
Correct.
Okay. And the one comment that Mr. Fuller did make about firearms during that interview was that he was not good with guns. Is that right?
Yes.
And he could barely even describe the gun that was used to victimize him in the robbery, right?
He said it was a black pistol.
And that's all he could say?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions. Thank you.
All right, you can step down.
Thank you.
We're going to take about a 10-minute break.
All right.
Whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Have a seat.
Would you state your name, please?
Officer Taylor Prugel.
And are you a police officer with the city of Painesville?
I am.
How long have you been a police officer with the city of Painesville?
For Painesville or the state?
For the city of Painesville.
City of Painesville, 6 years.
Prior to the city of Painesville?
I have 10 years total.
Thank you. I want to turn your attention to late night, June 30th, early morning, July 1st, this past summer, 2025. Were you dispatched to 351 West Eagle Street in Painesville about shots being fired in the area?
I was.
How many police officers arrived at 351 West Eagle at about the same time as you?
I believe it was one other officer that was also training, so 2 officers in 1 car.
Okay. What are the names of the other 2 officers who arrived at West Eagle at the same time?
Officer McLeod and Officer Hefner.
When you arrived at 351 West Eagle, was there a young man standing outside the home of 351 West Eagle in the driveway?
There was.
Did you recognize a young man standing outside?
I did.
Okay. How was it that you recognized a young man standing outside of West Eagle when you arrived there?
From past interactions.
Overruled.
What was the young man's name?
Azal Fuller?
And is Mr. Fuller in the courtroom today?
He is.
And would you point him out for the court, please?
He's sitting next to you in the blue shirt.
Thank you. Is there a car in the driveway of 351 West Eagle when you arrived there?
There was.
And would you describe the car, please?
I believe it was a gold or cream colored Malibu.
When you arrived at the scene, do you know who owns that car?
After the registration was ran, yes.
And who was that?
Azal Fuller.
When you arrived, where's Mr. Fuller standing in relation to the car?
I believe he was standing on the driver's side of the vehicle.
What do officers McLeod and Hefner do as they arrive at 351 West Eagle, do you recall?
I know that they went and started to canvass the area to check for casings and see if anyone had heard anything.
Okay. So they talked to a couple of different neighbors?
Yes.
Did you talk with any of the neighbors outside of 351 West Eagle?
I had DeAndre Boozer walk up to me.
And who was DeAndre Boozer?
He's a resident in 351.
Were you using a flashlight that evening?
I was.
And was Officer McLeod and Officer Hefner also using flashlights to look for evidence?
I would assume, but I'm not sure.
Do you approach Mr. Fuller in the driveway?
Yes.
And again, you testified your dispatch these guns are being fired. What do you ask Mr. Fuller when you first approach him?
My interaction I remember having with him was asking about where keys were because DeAndre Boozer wanted him to leave the property.
Do you recall having first asked him if he had heard any gunshots?
I believe I did.
Do you remember his response?
I do not.
You mentioned DeAndre Boozer and that you had a conversation with him at 351 West Eagle. After that conversation with him, is that when you are asking Mr. Fuller about his keys?
It is.
And what did you ask Mr. Fuller in regards to his keys?
I asked multiple times where his keys were.
Does he respond to you as to where his keys are?
At first, I believe he says he doesn't know where they are, but then he continues to ignore me as I ask him.
How many times did you ask him where his keys were? Can
Over
you-
5 times, multiple times.
And does he ever tell you where they are?
No.
Does a fourth officer arrive at the scene when you're having that conversation with
Yes.
Mr. Fuller? Is that Lieutenant DeCaro?
It was.
Do you observe what Lieutenant DeCaro is doing at the scene as he arrives?
He was looking for casings, and he walked over to the vehicle as well.
You mentioned that he's looking for casings. Well, let me go back. When you're asking Mr. Fuller about his keys, do you observe Mr. Fuller open and close the passenger side door?
He did.
You mentioned looking for shell casings. Lieutenant DeCaro was looking for them. Were you also looking for shell casings and the other two officers?
I was.
Shell casing, is a shell casing evidence that a gun or guns have been fired?
It is.
Do you know, does Lieutenant DeCaro find 2 shell casings outside of passenger door of
Objection.
Mr. Fuller's car?
It's sustained, Carl has already indicated he found those.
Do you observe, after those are found, do you observe Lieutenant DeCaro flashing his light in the passenger side of Mr. Fuller's car?
I do.
And where are you standing at that point in time? Are you on the opposite side or the same side of the vehicle?
If I recall correctly, I believe I was standing next to Lieutenant DeCaro.
As Lieutenant DeCaro flashes his flashlight in the passenger side window, what does he see first?
He states gun.
Pardon?
He states he sees a gun.
Are you also flashing your flashlight into the passenger side car?
Yes.
What do you first observe when you flash your flashlight in the passenger seat?
I don't recall.
Do you see a firearm?
Objection.
When you flash your flashlight
Objection.
into the car?
Sustained.
No, objection.
What?
Tell her that means don't answer, please, Judge.
I think I'll handle that part of
Okay.
things, okay?
I understand.
Okay.
What do you see when you flash your flashlight into the passenger side of a police
I don't
car?
recall.
You are, as Lieutenant DeCaro is flashing his flashlight into Mr. Fuller's car, do you hear Fuller say anything to Lieutenant DeCaro?
I believe he states that's not my gun.
Does he say anything about, is there anything said about whether he can flash the flashlight or can't flash the flashlight?
Objection.
What was that question?
Does Mr. Fuller state anything to Lieutenant DeCaro as to whether or not he may flash his flashlight into the car?
Overruled.
I believe he states don't look into my vehicle.
And what do you say in response to Mr. Fuller? Do you remember?
I told him to chill or calm down.
Now, Lieutenant DeCaro, at that point in time, does Lieutenant DeCaro find a firearm in Mr. Fuller's car?
He does.
And is Mr. Fuller then detained when that firearm is found?
He is.
What is Mr. Fuller saying as he is being detained?
That's when he states that's not my gun.
Does he ever say, I didn't know the gun is in my car?
I don't recall.
States Exhibit 2. Is that the .40 caliber pistol that Lieutenant DeCaro finds in Mr. Fuller's car?
It is.
It was already here. Do you observe Officer Hefner or Officer McLeod put Mr. Fuller in one of the police cars after he was detained?
I do.
Do you and Lieutenant DeCaro and other officers continue to look for other evidence that guns or a gun has been fired?
We do.
Are you present when an officer from State Highway Patrol by the name of Bass arrives at West Eagle?
I remember.
And does Officer Bass find other evidence that a gun or guns have been fired?
Yes.
What does Officer Bass find?
I believe he finds 2 casings or a couple casings.
Now, are you also present when Officer Bolowski from Painesville Police arrives at 351 West Eagle?
I was.
When he arrives at 351 West Eagle, has Mr. Fuller already been transported by Officer McLeod and Officer Hefner to the Painesville Police Station?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Did you observe Officer Bolowski enter Fuller's car?
Yes,
Where were you standing as Officer Bolowski enters Mr. Fuller's car?
I believe I was standing next to him.
And what does Officer Bolowski find as he
Objection.
enters the car? What did you observe?
Sustained.
What do you observe as Officer Bolowski enters Mr. Fuller's car?
He moves a bag that's on the floorboard of the passenger side.
Do you observe him open the bag?
Yes,
Okay. What is found in the bag?
another firearm.
Do you remember what type of firearm that was?
It was a revolver.
Let me hand you what I marked as Exhibit 4. And here, what has been marked is the State's Exhibit 4. And it's going to identify that. Is that the revolver that Officer Bolowski locates in Mr. Fuller's car?
Yes,
As you're standing there next to Officer Bolowski, do you observe any fast food trash bags or any other debris on the passenger side floor?
I remember the bag with that and the tennis shoes.
Anything else that was blocking the bag?
I don't recall.
Do you recall Mr. Fuller saying anything when the second weapon is found in his car? Was he present?
I don't believe so.
Was it after midnight on July 1st, 2025, when Officer Bolowski finds the second weapon?
I don't remember the time.
Was it after midnight, July 1st, 2025, when the crime scene is cleared?
Yes,
And were you part of processing the crime scene?
I was.
All right. Were you assisting Lieutenant Carl?
I was.
I don't have any other questions. All right. Thank you.
Cross.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Officer Prugel.
Good morning.
Did anybody, any of the responding officers put together a crime scene log for this scene?
I don't recall.
Who would ordinarily be responsible for that?
Whatever officer began to do one
Okay.
that was processing the scene.
And you don't know if that was done in this case or not?
No.
But it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, numerous different officers found various pieces of evidence around this scene. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you actually remember seeing that revolver
Yes.
that evening?
Yes.
Okay. And at what point
Which
did
one?
the revolver as opposed to the exhibit, the one that you looked at during your direct testimony, the one that came from the yellow bag? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And initially you stated on direct you didn't recall as it was pulled out of the bag. Do you remember saying that?
Yeah, I had to refresh my memory.
Okay. Okay. But you were able to identify it then now?
Yes.
Okay. And you also handled the tennis shoes that were found in the vehicle?
I believe so. I was there next to Officer Blowski.
Okay, but you aren't sure?
I don't know who touched them.
Okay. Okay, no further questions, thank you.
Any redirect?
Just briefly, Officer Krugel, at any point when Mr. Fuller is there, do you recall him ever saying that he did not know if there were guns in his car?
I do not recall.
Thank you.
Recross?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
You may step down. Next witness?
Officer Jordan Hefner.
Raise your right hand, please. You swear testimony about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. You have a seat.
Could you state your name, please?
Officer Hefner?
Officer Hefner, are you a police officer with the City of Painesville?
Yes.
And how long have you been a police officer with the City of Painesville?
Tomorrow will be 1 year.
I want to turn your attention to the late night of June 30th, early morning, July 1st, 2025. Were you dispatched to 351 West Eagle Street in Painesville that gunshots had been fired?
Yes.
How many officers total first arrived at 351 West Eagle
Initially,
initially?
just me and Officer McLeod.
Does Officer Kugel also arrive?
Shortly after.
Shortly after. Now, were you being trained by Officer McLeod that evening, June 30th?
Yes.
Were you riding with Officer McLeod in his car, 2351 West Eagle?
Yes.
When you arrive at 351 West Eagle, do you see a car in the driveway?
Yes.
Would you just briefly describe that car?
It was a golden color Chevy Malibu.
Was there a black male standing near the Chevy Malibu car?
Yes.
And is that person in the courtroom today?
Yes.
And would you point that person out for us, please? To the right of me? Is that
Yes.
correct? So you please state it. When you arrive at 351 West Eagle, what do you do? What do you begin to do?
Officer McLeod began to speak with Mr. Fuller about what was occurring. It was dark out, so I used my flashlight to look for shell casings because we responded to a call of shots fired.
Do you visit any of the homes and talk to any of the neighbors as to whether they've heard gunshots or not?
Yes.
Does anybody respond positively to you that they've heard gunshots?
Yes.
Was Officer McLeod also walking up to the doors and
Yes.
neighbors? Does Lieutenant Carroll from Painesville City also arrive at 351 West Eagle after the three of you are there?
Yes.
Do you observe Lieutenant DeCaro flash his flashlight into the passenger window of the Chevy Malibu?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Do you observe Lieutenant DeCaro flash his flashlight into the passenger side window of the Chevy Malibu?
I don't recall if I observed that.
Are you one of the officers that detains Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
As he's being detained, do you recall, what does Mr. Fuller say? If you recall.
I don't recall.
Where was Mr. Fuller taken immediately upon his arrest?
To the rear of, to the back door, on the passenger side of cruiser number, I believe it was 729.
And are you the officer who brings him to the rear door of
Yes.
the patrol car? Do you recall, do you read Mr. Fuller's Miranda rights?
Yes.
As you're putting him into the patrol car?
Yes.
Does does Mr. Fuller speak with you after you read him his Miranda rights? Do you remember?
I was there. He spoke with Officer McLeod.
In speaking with Officer McLeod, and you're present, does Mr. Fuller ever say to you that he did not know there was a gun or guns in his car?
Not to me directly.
Do you recall him saying it to Officer McLeod?
No.
Do you recall whether Mr. Fuller tells you who shot a gun around 351 West Eagle before the officers arrived?
Did you ask me that again?
Do you remember, does Fuller tell you and Officer McLeod who shot a gun around 351 West Eagle before the officers arrived?
While he was in the back of the car or at the station?
Either time.
Yes.
Okay. What does he tell you?
He said Keith Dykes fired the weapon.
Are you present when the crime scene is cleared, or do you and Officer McLeod transport Fuller back to the police station?
I was not there when it was cleared.
Do you transport Mr. Fuller back to the police station?
Yes.
And is he read his Miranda rights again at the police station?
Yes.
And does he talk, Mr. Fuller talk with you and Mr. McLeod at the police station?
Yes.
In that conversation again, does Mr. Fuller ever tell you that he did not know there was a gun in his car?
I don't believe so.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Cross?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Officer Hefner. You were present for Mr. Fuller's interview the night that he was arrested, right?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall him indicating that the gun wasn't his and he would have ran before police came if it was?
I don't.
Would it refresh your recollection if you viewed that interview?
Yeah.
Yes. At the 9-minute mark.
This is solely for the purpose of refreshing Patrolman Hefner's recollection as to that statement which he just said he didn't recall. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
Council, we're going to try the other video because I'm bouncing back on this first one here. Judge, we can't get it advanced to the mark.
Well, then you can play it all, I guess, if you got to get to it. So you all can sit here while it's playing. And I'll be back after you got to the point where it either does or doesn't refresh his recollection, since this is not substantive evidence.
Okay.
All right. I'll let you know, Judge.
It's crazy though. My own cousin didn't even want to vouch for me though. Then y'all ask so many questions and they didn't even say nothing. They didn't even tell y'all what happened or nothing. So they sat there and seen the whole thing.
Oh, maybe one of these.
I don't know him. That's the dude I don't know. The dude in the white shirt was my cousin. That's crazy. I didn't do nothing. He didn't say nothing. That's crazy. It's crazy as fuck.
Check this in 15 years.
Do you have a keyboard with that? Yeah.
First, I guess just see if your copy will even do it.
If you type, if you hit the right arrow
Could it
on
just
the
be the
keyboard,
way the file
it'll
is?
skip forward.
Yeah.
He calls you at?
You know, Councilman Randall will do it this way.
Okay. Oh, it's not. It must just be.
Back up where you from.
I've somehow done it.
Oh, I know you said you're on upstairs.
Street. Yeah, the apartment's right there. I gotta link up. So it gotta be like around like 10 something too.
Okay.
It might be. I don't wanna say, cause my girl got off around like 9 something.
Okay.
I picked her up from work. My girl got off at like 9 something. So it gotta be like around.
I'm going to try to get it close to that so I won't not too far. I'm going to put about 8 minutes, 30 seconds.
Okay.
So,
See if I play it, it stays. That's all right. I don't do now because 8 minutes, 30 seconds. Sound good, Council?
Sounds good.
Yeah. And then I'll play from there. That's awesome. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, let me see. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put an 8 minute, 30 second mark. And then you can watch it from there. And then if it refreshes your memory, let council know how to get that.
he's a little bit more sensitive.
Yeah.
Trying to call him
I
at,
gotta link up.
is that 11?
This had to been on that time. But we got other calls. I don't know for a fact when he called me, but like I can show y'all the rest of the times he called me too if y'all want.
Is that today?
Yeah, it's today.
Yeah, show me when, so 11:36, is that when you were trying to call him at West Eagle?
I think so. It might have been. I don't want to say because my girl got off around like 9 something.
Okay.
I picked her up from work. My girl got off at like 9 something. So it got to be like around like 10 something too.
Okay.
Like 10 when he called me.
Okay.
I missed a couple
I
calls.
was gonna say, that time frame makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah. It has been around this
So
time.
10:54, snap a picture of that. So that's the time when probably he originally contacted you.
Yeah.
So how long after that did you go pick him up?
Probably like 10. It took me like 10 minutes to get there.
Okay, and that's, okay. $22. He showed us it's about 22:54. Male called him and he said he picked him up about 10 minutes after that from the apartments on Monterey. Alright, what I want you to do is take these 2 sticks, rub them on the inside of your cheek, both sides.
How long was he on West Eagle?
How long were you on West Eagle before we got there?
15 minutes. Like literally
Before we pulled up?
Before we pulled up, like 15, 20 minutes.
He said about 15 to 20 minutes. Alright. Rub it on the inside of your cheek on both sides for about 10, 15 seconds aside. Alright, and then when you're done, I want you to take these. There's 2 cotton swabs on the bottom of these. Take the cotton swabs, stick them right back in this bag for me.
So, both of them?
Yep, yeah, you can keep both of them together at the same time, and just, rub them on the inside of your cheeks, the inside of the wall of your cheek, about 10, 15 seconds aside, then switch, just so it fully coats the whole thing.
We have it written down as about 9 minutes and 30 seconds.
Is it on these first videos?
And then, maybe it's on the second one, because we also have an 11-minute, let's see if the 11-minute mark one is here.
On this one first?
Yeah, on this one, and then that way I'll know. Maybe it is on the, maybe it is.
All right. One minute, hold on. I'll run upstairs and talk to my lieutenant, and I'll be right back, okay? Yep, take that for right now. I'll be back. I can't get out. We're trapped.
Must be the other one. I think it must be the other one.
One more favor for this.
That was a bigger video, so it's gonna be, you want to try the first one?
Yeah,
Okay, this one?
yeah.
I'm not about to go back to jail. I'm on probation, bro. He don't know my girl. I left. So I'm at this baby on part. So, bro, for real, that's not my gun. He must left it in there. I don't know what he must drop when he took my key. I don't know. I don't know how the gun got there. So he get in the GMC truck. It's a black GMC truck. It say Buick on the back of it. I don't know what year it is. I don't know what model it is. I don't know. It say Buick on the back of it. Got in there, this baby on part. Hop in it, left.
Where was the truck at?
Bro, it was parked in front of the house. You see how my car was right there in the driveway? It was on the side, bagged in. So I'm like, alright, he left. Y'all, as soon as y'all pull up, as soon as y'all turn, he turned left on Newell Street. He turned left on Newell Street, not towards the train tracks. He go left. Y'all coming in.
You said it was a truck, was it?
It was a
pickup truck?
It was an SUV truck.
SUV, okay.
Y'all come in, he turned left.
Okay.
I'm like, alright. I'm trying to get I'm calling my brother, let me get my key so I can leave, bro. I see my tire going flat, I need to hurry up and get it to my girl house real quick. She lives right around the corner, Stage Ave, right around the corner. He ain't answering. That's when he come outside talking about he don't know what happened, bro. They seen what happened, bro. They was right there. They knew what happened. They just not about to tell on him, bro. Like, This dude not from out here, bro. This dude, my cousin is from Detroit, bro. He not from out here. He probably on his way back right now because you know what happened. He think I'm telling him, I don't care, bro. This dude tripping. I'm not about to go back to jail. I'm on probation. I'm on probation for a robbery, bro. I cannot do this, bro. I literally cannot have a gun in my possession. For real. I did not touch that gun, not have that gun, nothing. That's what happened though.
So when he got in your car, you said you picked him up from Manor Ave.
Manor Ave right here.
When he got in your car, do you see anything that he got in the car?
All set, Councilman?
Yes.
Okay, I'll remove it off there and I'll get the judge. I will leave it in the computer in case you need to refresh it. Or
Okay.
something.
Yeah, there might be one more thing, maybe.
All rise. Seated. Hibbert?
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Hefner, did that refresh your recollection as to the interview?
Yes.
And now, do you recall then when Mr. Fuller says the gun wasn't his and he would have ran before the police came if it was?
I didn't hear that when you just played it back that he said he would have ran, but I did hear him say he can't have a gun because he was on probation.
Okay, well, and then I'll ask you about that. Okay, and then about a minute later, he says he's on probation for a robbery. He's not trying to go back to jail. There's no way he'd be riding around with a gun. Did you hear that?
Yes.
And he says,
Well, wait, there was a question asked to the officer about whether he recalled something, and then he watched the video to refresh his recollection. About what? Now you're going into what Fuller said substantively, okay? I'm interested in knowing what it was that he didn't recall and then had his recollection refreshed.
he initially he did not recall Mr. Fuller saying the gun isn't his and he would have
Okay.
ran before the police came if it was.
Okay, and so was your recollection refreshed as to that point?
I didn't hear in the video.
Okay,
where it
I'm
said-
not asking if you heard or didn't hear. Was it refreshed? Was your recollection refreshed as to the point that Ms. Hibbert asked you that question?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Do you recall during the interview when Mr. Fuller says that he is on probation for a robbery and he's not trying to go back to jail and there's no way he would be riding around with a gun in the car?
Yes.
And he offers possible explanations for how it could have gotten there, but he's emphatic that he doesn't know.
Yes.
And essentially he makes clear that he didn't know there was a gun in the car.
Are these statements against interest by the defendant?
No.
Okay, then why is it relevant at this point? So I'm not going to let you continue along that line.
Okay. Mr. Fuller didn't run from that scene, did he?
Objection.
Overruled.
No.
And he was cooperative, right?
Yes.
And answered all the questions that yourself and Officer McLeod had, right?
I believe he answered all the questions.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, you may step down. Next witness.
Officer Chad Woloski.
Raise your right hand, please. You swear testimony about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I have.
All right, have a seat.
Would Would you state your name, please?
I'm Officer Chad Balowski. Last name's Balasky.
Officer Belaski, where are you employed?
The city of Painesville.
How long have you been a police officer with the city of Painesville?
A little over 6 years.
Had you worked as a police officer for any other community before you started with the city of Painesville?
Yes, I have. I worked for North Perry, Timberlake, and Metro Health Hospital.
I want to turn your attention to last summer, specifically late in the evening on June 30th into the early morning of July 1st, 2025. Do you assist other Painesville police officers who are dispatched to 351 West Eagle in regards to gunshots having been fired?
Yes, I did.
Were you one of the first, the 3 officers who responded to the dispatch?
No, I was not.
Where were you? Were you responding to another dispatch before you arrived at 351 West Eagle?
Yes, I did.
Where were you before you arrived at 351 West Eagle?
I was at McDonald's on another call.
Was that a domestic violence call? Do you know?
Very similar. It was a protection order violation.
When you arrive at 351 West Eagle, is it after midnight on July 1st?
I don't know what time I arrived there.
Okay. Upon your arrival at West Eagle, was there a gold Chevy Malibu car parked in the driveway of West Eagle?
Yes, there was.
Do you help with the search of the Chevy Malibu car?
Yes.
Do you recall, do you open the passenger door of the Chevy Malibu car?
Yes.
What do you find when you open the passenger door of the Chevy Malibu car?
I observed a pair of shoes, a black pistol, and then a yellow shopping bag.
Now, the yellow shopping bag, do you open the shopping bag?
Yes, I did.
Was it difficult to open the shopping bag?
It was not.
Was an officer Probable present with you when you opened the door to the Chevy Malibu? You remember?
It was already open.
It was already open?
Yes.
Okay. Was Officer Probable there with you?
Yes.
What do you find when you enter the Chevy Malibu car?
I found a silver Smith & Wesson revolver.
Let me hand you. I marked the state's exhibit 4. Let's get into state's exhibit 4.
This is the revolver that I found in the car. Yes.
Was the defendant, Mr. Fuller, present when you found State's Exhibit 4?
I believe he was in the back of one of the cruisers.
Do you recall him saying anything when you see State's Exhibit 4?
I do not.
Was State's Exhibit 4 blocked by any other debris, bags, anything?
No.
Could you see State's Exhibit 4 if you're sitting in the passenger or in the driver's side of the car?
I couldn't hear you, sorry.
Would it be in plain view from the driver's side of the car, State's Exhibit 4?
I believe so, yes.
Was the .357 revolver loaded when you found it?
Yes, it was.
And how many rounds were inside the...
There were 5 rounds inside there.
What do you do with the .357 revolver after you locate it? Do you ultimately provide it to Lieutenant DeCaro?
After I located it, I photographed it and then opened the cylinder to see if it was loaded or not.
Do you find anything underneath the .357 revolver?
No.
Do you find any other shell casings in the car?
I don't recall.
Do you proceed to search the rest of the Chevy Malibu?
Yes.
Do you find any other firearms in the car?
No, I did not.
Find any other evidence that a gun had been shot?
No.
Or so? Do you or Lieutenant DeCaro transport Exhibit 4 back to the police station?
I believe Lieutenant DeCaro did. I'm not 100% sure.
No other questions? Thank you.
Cross.
Thank you, Your Honor. Officer Belowski, so how many items were on the passenger side floorboard of that vehicle?
Let's see. 5.
Okay, and those would be the bag,
The bag,
the shoes,
the shoes,
the revolver,
the revolver, and the pistol.
the pistol, and then the fifth item would be the iPhone that was underneath the revolver?
The iPhone was underneath the black pistol.
Okay, so the revolver was in the bag,
Yes.
pistol was on the floor.
Yes.
Okay, and the iPhone was underneath the pistol.
Yes.
Okay, and all of those things were together on the passenger floorboard, where the passenger would put their feet?
Yes.
And it was dark out, right?
Yes.
And you guys were using flashlights to look around, right?
Yep.
And it's your testimony that the driver of the vehicle would have been able to have a clear view of that firearm on the floor?
Yes.
Okay. And no further questions, thank you.
Any redirect?
Nothing further. Thank you.
All right, you may step down. State of another witness.
No other witnesses. Move to admit our exhibits.
All right. And you're resting?
Yes.
Is there any objection to 1 through 5?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, 1 through 5 will be admitted.
Just picking up, saying that the phone was underneath the gun. He was using his phone throughout the night. He had been moving the gun around.
Ms. Hibbert?
Your Honor, at this time, the defense would make a motion pursuant to Criminal Rule 29. The evidence as presented, even when viewed in the light most favorable to the state of Ohio, does not indicate that Mr. Fuller would have known that that firearm was in the car. He was not in the car when the firearm was located in the car. There's been varying testimony as to whether the passenger door was open. One officer testified that it was open, that Officer Belowski. Another officer testified that the door was shut, and then another officer testified that the door was open and then closed. It seems to be fairly consistent that the passenger side window was down. We've also heard testimony from Lieutenant DeCaro that Keith Dykes, a phone purportedly belonging to Keith Dykes was underneath the pistol on the floorboard of the car. It was so dark that every officer had to use a flashlight to search into the car, yet somehow the only way that he could know it was in the car is if he saw it with his own eyes or somebody told him it was in the car, and there's been no evidence whatsoever that he was told that there was a firearm in the car. And the evidence, even when viewed in the light most favorable to the state of Ohio, doesn't indicate that he ever saw that firearm in the car. He was not in the car when the police arrived. So we, and that same argument would pertain to certainly Well, I'm unclear on which count pertains to which weapon, but certainly the weapon that was in the bag, Mr. Fuller would have no clue had been in the car, and then the arguments I made pertaining to the weapon that was on the floorboard on top of Keith Dykes' iPhone. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Dugan?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Hibbert's motion focuses on the element of knowingly as opposed to all the other elements. But with that element of knowingly, we can't get into Mr. Fuller's mind at all. So you have to look to all the facts and the circumstances of the case. And when we looked at all the facts and the circumstances, there's a high probability that he knows there are 2 firearms in his car. He knows that he's picked up his cousin Dykes. He's driven him all around the town. He is himself convicted of aggravated robbery. He's standing mostly by the passenger side door when